Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. What's going on, everybody? Good morning to everyone. I know it's not exactly last minute, but a little. Okay, so today we will be talking about the radical Latino and Desiree, which is one of his guests. His common, she's on there a lot. I think I'm pronouncing the young lady's name correctly. Um, my apologies if I'm saying the wrong name, or I think I caught it, but I see her go on there all the time. So anyway, all right. So they're covering Tariq Nasheed, and Tariq Nasheed covering the Nick Fuentes on Fresh and Fit, you know, debacle, right? Now, I want to say this, and I want to reiterate my title once again. It's about power, right? Now, why I start the title, or why I start this off with "It's about power," is because Desiree and Radical Latino, but definitely Desiree, continues to talk about hate. She's not for hate. She's not for hate, right? When the rest of the panel jumps on, because she's the first one to jump on, someone asked the question, and she's like, I have a problem with the hate, right? You get everybody's a little racist. Everybody has their preferences, but it's the hate that's a problem, ma'am. No one cares about no damn hate, particularly in the black community. The black community understands that there are white people, Latinos, Asians, Arabs, South Asians, East Asians, indigenous folks that hate black people. That's not the issue. Do you have the power to do something and get away with it? Do you have the power to harm black people? Right? Att- uh, Attempting to appeal to someone so that they don't hate you puts them in the power position. The vast majority of black people do not care about who hates them and who doesn't. This is not about hate. This is about power, man. This is about power. It's always been about power, right? It's always been about power, and it will always be about power. Whether white people hate black people or not is inconsequential for the most part. And attempting to change whether an individual white person or white people as a group hate black people is pointless, right? Can they harm you, right? This is about power, right? This is about power. So, continuing. Um, you know, so Radical says something, and he calls, I guess the Tariq Nasheed types fake pro blacks. Um, I think we got to be careful speaking this way, because there are true pro black people who take this very serious. Um, and Radical says something. He's like, he alludes to the fact that George Zimmerman is still around, and what are you black people going to do? What are y'all going to do? Y'all not going to do anything. So why y'all talking? I would be careful speaking like that, especially as a Latino person, especially as a person who comes from a culture that worships the ground that white people walk on. I would be very careful about telling black people what would they do. I watch Latinos flee countries ruled by white dictatorial powers. The whole cabinet is a bunch of white corruption. I would be very careful saying to black people, what are you going to do about it? And egg them on, when I can't go to a Latino country anywhere in the Caribbean or in South America where it's not a white oligarch or a white dictatorial power, him or his son or his grandson running things, right? Where their family is not all in the cabinet still running things for generations. I would be careful goading black people with what are you going to do about it? Nothing. I would be careful. All right. Particularly, seeing the fascists that have come out of Latin America, the dictators that have come out of Latin America, the slaughter of indigenous folks, black folks, right? Coming out of Latin America, I would be careful, right? So let's let's be careful saying things like that, right? What are black people going to do? Nothing. Oh, were Latinos known for going at white people? Where? Back in the home country? No. In America? No. Right? I would be careful, right? So Desiree says something like FBA is an ideology, it's not a lineage. Okay. Um, you know, is there a distinction or a difference really between FBA and ADOS? Yes. I would like some clarification on that. Is she saying FBA as in like the Tariq Nasheed led kind of group of Black American descent of American slavery, right? Or is she just saying being born in America, being um, your lineage going back to American plantations, right? Coming off of the west coast of Africa, being bought across the Atlantic, and being dropped off in America and being enslaved in America is not a lineage. It is a ideology. Is if she's saying that, then I 100% categorically reject what she's saying. If she's saying that it's an ideology, as in what Tariq Nasheed and the group of his followers are on, that I would also be careful in saying that as a non first of all, a non-black person. Secondly, a non-ADOS FBA black person. Right? I would be careful saying that. You know, we have to be careful in engaging in this conversation, and this is what makes other people of color engaging in conversation about ADOS FBA particularly dangerous. It's because they're not black, particularly when you get outside of like the Northeast and some of the West Coast, because they're not black, they're one or two rungs above Black American ADOS FBA on the racial hierarchy. And so you have to ask yourself, do they really have a problem with white supremacy, or do they have a problem with their level, right, under white supremacy? Do they have a problem with the hierarchy for real? Or do they have a problem with their position in the hierarchy? Right? This is a question for us to really ask the Latino community. Because black people already understand that many Latinos want to maintain the hierarchy. They like the whitest of white at the top and the blackest of black on the bottom, right? And you got the mestizos and you got the mulattoes and you have the indigenous folks, right? And then you have the blacks all the way on the bottom. We understand that. We can see that from the countries that you come from, and then we can see that on how you replicate the racial hierarchy in America. I would like to direct you to Nuri Martinez. Oops. Right? We understand that. Right? So, listening in, it's very clear and evident the schism between black people, particularly black Americans, and the Latino community. I would like to also remind Radical Latino, Desiree, and the panel, this coalition is not real. We understand that, but it's also being forced from the outside. I would like to direct you to that leaked Biden tape where he told black people you're going to have to get with Latinos to get anything done. Right? The fact that we have, 17% of the US population being Latino, most of that of Mexican descent or South American descent, Central American descent, really Central American descent, Mexican and then Central American. And yet you don't really see that represented too much on television. They don't hold too many offices outside of maybe South Florida, a couple coming from the Northeast and definitely coming from the West Coast, mainly Southern California. Outside of that, nope. That's not by accident. That's white people also showing you they're not going to let you run things either. Yikes. And that you could throw black people under the bus all you want. That means nothing for your power position. Once again, your power position, Desiree. This is not about hate. It's very interesting listening to these other people of color talk, these non-black people talk about white people, and y'all always get to hate because y'all are the ones that want to be anointed in bed by white folks. Y'all are the ones who want your little mestizo children, your little mulatto children, right? You're the one obsessed with whether white people hate you or not because you really rather them not, because you want to be elevated by them. When it's not about hate, it's about power. And most of you will not be Jeb Bush's wife, right? If y'all don't know, the former governor of Florida married a Latina. Is married to a Latina, right? Most of you won't be Osario Cortez, Alexandria Osario Cortez with your white redhead boyfriend. Right? It's fascinating to watch these people punch down on black folks while saying, and I'm going to get to this now, while saying the problem with white folks is that they have a horrible image. No, they've done horrible things to have a horrible image. They've done horrible things on this planet to have that horrible image. They're not doing anything to resuscitate their image. They like being the barbarians that they are, the ones of them that are that way. They would much rather have the racial hierarchy that they have and the horrible image than to not have the power that they have. They'll take the horrible image if it comes with power. Right? And this is speaking to something specifically that Desiree was speaking to, right? That's why I continue to say this is about power, and it's very interesting to listen to you guys speak and speak around that. This is not about hate. No one cares whether white folks hate them or not. Do they have the power to harm you because they hate you? You can't do anything about their hate, but you do have the ability through law to do something about that power to harm you because they hate you. You can't go into every individual white home to make them raise their children in a way that's not hateful, particularly towards black folks. Right? But you can do something legislatively that causes white people's hatred not to equal them having the ability to harm you and get away with it, to hinder you and get away with it, right? To block you and get away with it. That's what this is about. You know, Desiree speaks about black people taking L's along with women and LGBTQ and yeah, because white folks are reestablishing their power position. White men in particular. We use the term white supremacy too much, right? It's a buzzword. It's a buzzword and we use it too much. That's rich coming from a Latino. I would argue in this society, we don't use the term white supremacy enough. You know what the thing is, Miss Desiree and Radical Latino and the rest of the panel and chat? Y'all think there's a place on this planet that's not white supremacy. You think there's a place on this planet where the ideology of whiter is better hasn't touched, or that societies that already had this complex didn't have it exacerbated by white domination on this planet over the past 500 or so years. You think there's a place on this planet that this is not about white supremacy. East Asian women bleaching, South Asian women bleaching, Caribbean women of different shades bleaching, indigenous women, African women in Africa, right? women from across the diaspora of human beings that don't have the straightest of straight hair using some form of hair relaxer or hair straightener. That includes white Jewish women. What? Right? A bunch of women getting nose rhinoplasty, right? Even white women getting rhinoplasty to take out the hump from their nose so they can look more Western European. Men of varying races being held to a white European standard of masculinity, of opulence, right? Of resource acquisition and resource hoarding, of displaying wealth the way white folks do. And yet we're talking about white supremacy as if it hasn't permeated every part of this planet, as if we overuse the word. I say we don't use the word enough, or the term enough, better yet. Right? We don't use the term enough. We have allowed white people who run this planet to say, "Oh, white supremacy, it's overused." No, we don't use it enough. Name me a Latin country right now on the planet that America couldn't go in and take out the leader in all of a blink of an eye. And when I say America, read white. America had a choice to choose between another country in the Americas, Argentina, or its white brethren in Britain, and it chose Britain over the Falkland Islands. Goddamn. Right? America is attempting to contain China, both economically and militarily. Huh. Contingency plan on top of contingency plan on top of contingency plan, just in case one of you non-black folks think you're gonna do something. Excuse me, you non-white folks. Huh. I say we don't use the term enough. I am a descendant of Africans and I'm using English. I'm speaking in English. White. My brethren and sisterin back home in Haiti speaking some type of broken French. White. Some of them back in Africa speaking German. White. Indigenous folks speaking Spanish. White. Portuguese. White. Goddamn. Hmm. The entire monetary system on this planet. White. Goddamn. Well, there you go. Huh. And you think we use white supremacy too much? Huh. You think that the repeal of Roe versus Wade is about anything but the white birth rate in America? You think the striking down of affirmative action really has to do with black people, and it does, but it's really not about white men getting white women together, because white women have benefited from affirmative action more than any other group in America. Huh. Do you think making sure that college students don't get that student loan forgiveness, you think that's about what? Making sure that white women are reliant on white men and their resources. The question to the panel that was on Radical Latino, particularly Desiree and Radical Latino, what part of this planet isn't run by white people? Sentinel Island? That's it? What part of this planet isn't run by white people? Hmm. Two of the most costliest wars in human history. White people. One World War One, World War Two. Resources from all around the planet. People from all around the planet were killed, but white people fighting other white people for white dominance over the planet. Right? Hmm. And yet, Miss Desiree thinks that the term white supremacy is a buzzword and we use it too often. Right? BGS says Chinese aren't run by white people. They're attempting to contain them. They're attempting to contain them. That was my point in BGS. Attempting. Right? And so when Miss Desiree says we use the term white supremacy too much, that's rich coming from a Latino person who, descendants either got dominated by white folks or the closest to white or white leadership from your home country caused you to run to America. And yet, it's very interesting when you listen to these Ramasawamis and these, Desirees and these different folks speak about this, right? These Nikki Haley's, these Bobby Jindal, right? Neri Martinez. When you listen to these different groups of people, not black, not ADOS FBA, speak about race in America, speak about power, speak about hatred. They really think it's about hatred and ignorance. How blatant do white folks got to be to tell you, no, it's about power. We just trying to maintain our position. Like, it's as if y'all are waiting for like the Ku Klux Klan member to come out with the hood and say it. Y'all need it to be like cartoonishly obvious. Y'all waiting for like the skinhead or the dude with the swastika tattoos to say it. Like, how blatant does it have to be? Right? Now, Desiree gets into some conversation about what I perceive as strongman leadership in America. Have y'all learned nothing from Latin America? You think strongman leadership is going to work in America? See, oh, I forgot. Y'all ran from strong left-leaning strongman leadership in Latin America, and so you think right-leaning strongman leadership in America is going to work. Once again, this is like this weirdo obsession with like Trump style, um, Duterte style, Pinochet style, um, leadership, right? And like, no, America is perfectly okay with that type of leadership in other countries, especially if you're doing America's bidding. But here back home, right? That's a no-go. Now, one of the most interesting things that Desiree says, and I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, it's dangerous to be white right now. Dangerous to be white. What? Wait, wait, wait. Dangerous to be white in America? Why? Because white Americans feel just as, and a few of them feel just a little shame, just a little bit of that white guilt, just a smidge, just a teeny tiny bit. Wait, who's still the most victimized people that could actually prove hate crimes? Wait, oh crap, black people. Yep, that part. But yet, it's dangerous to be white. Why? Because you got a few black women telling black white dudes to shut up in college and university right now. They make the white women feel a little right, feel a little cringy, feel a little bad in these college and university campuses. That's why it's dangerous to be white. It's always been dangerous to be black in America. Always. It's dangerous to be white because why? Inquiring minds would like to know. Desiree, that's a real question. I'm not even, that's not a rhetorical question. It's dangerous to be white in America based off of what? What evidence is there? What substantial hate crimes are white folks facing right now? Because they're white. Black folks targeting white folks because they're white and then saying because they're white. We need the manifestos coming from black folks. We need the black folks driving across multiple states, going to the whitest part of the country they could find to target white folks. We need the equivalent of what white folks do to black folks. Random white dudes driving cross state lines, catching trains and buses to go target the whitest of white folks. And then saying it in a manifesto. And then have an internet history of talking to different black folks and being in forums, talking to different black folks about targeting white folks, targeting Latinos, targeting Asians, right? Where's the equivalent? It's dangerous to be white in America. Who's harming white people other than white people? Rich white people harming poor black people. Rich white elites making sure that poor black people, rich white elites harming poor white folks, and rich white elites making sure that poor white folks don't got nothing but drugs. Well, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. Shout out to the Sackler family. Causing middle class and poor white folks to be unemployed. Who's really harming and targeting white folks? How is it dangerous to be white right now? And if it is dangerous, who's causing it to be dangerous? Random black people? What, black politicians? Black entertainers? Who's causing it to be dangerous to be white right now? It's dangerous to be white. Huh. And no place so to thank you for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Right? The question is, what power don't white people have? Particularly in America. But even outside of America. Outside of Western Europe. Reserve currency of the world, the US dollar. What's the second most? Is it not the euro? White. Uh-oh. Outside of China, who really legitimately is challenging US power? A non-white country that's challenging, that can even come close to US power. Outside of China, I'll wait. Russia, white. Try again. Different ethnic groups, white though. Okay, let's come back home to domestically. What group of people is really challenging white American power in America? Who even comes close? East Asians helped to repeal affirmative action. You look at the studies, everything showing you they're not going to gain too many seats. I think it was like some study that showed 120,000 seats. Asians going to gain 3,000. Well, there you go. Asians had an ability to challenge legacy admissions, which would have really took a chunk out of the reserve seats, the seats that are already called for every year, every semester, every year. Guess what? They didn't do it. They went at affirmative action, and affirmative action hasn't really been something that black people can stake their claim on since the Baki decision. So it's just East Asians and South Asians showing, hey, white folks, we with you. It was symbolic for the most part. Goddamn. So once again, to Radical Latino and Desiree, yeah, dangerous to be white. Where? Right? White folks are safer in the hood than black folks are. Goddamn. You said that, Mr. Z. I did. A random white person is safer in the most dangerous parts of the hood, that includes the Latino hood, than a random black person is. Somebody tell me I'm lying. And yet, it's dangerous to be white, Desiree says. Where in America is it dangerous to be white? Dangerous to be white, she says. Okay. All right. So I just want to come to y'all today and kind of emphasize that, listening to Radical Latino and Desiree speak, particularly because she was there in the beginning. Well, she was the first person that he bought on. And you're listening to these people talking. It's interesting to listen to non-black folks once again speak about race, speak about money, speak about power, speak about hatred in America. And it's very interesting to get their perspective. It reminds me of the, was it Vice that had the South Asians on? No, it was South and East Asians, had the Asians on speaking about race, and the most the blackest looking Indian guy, of course, had to be the one that was the most. Yeah, we need to lean into the model minority. There's nothing wrong with that. It had the most conservative views. Of course you do, because you look like a Negro. Trying to distance yourself, and he was bald. Oh, with a beard. Oh, of course you got to distance yourself from the Negroes, even though you look just random person see you, they see a black person. So I get it, right? What's fascinating is listening to non-white folks cop pleas for white folks. The same thing Myron does on Fresh and Fit. Watching non-white folks cop pleas for white folks is fascinating. I think y'all are most oppressed. It's dangerous to be a white person, right? Right. It's that's what black people have to contend with, particularly ADOS FBA, the buffer class non-whites. So first you have the WASP, then you have certain weird Jewish folks, then you have the Italians and the Irish. All of these are white, but they're not WASP. Then when you get out of white, then you have the kind of whites like the mestizos. I got one white parent like the mulattoes and the hoppers. Then you got the legit East Asians and the South Asians. You have whatever, I don't mess with those black people over there, indigenous folks. You have definitely the Arabs, the I'm white in the right light, and you might mistake me for a mestizo Arab folks, right? And all these people are like playing this weird hierarchical game. You have the mulattoes, you have the mestizos, you have the Arabs. Then how did Mr. Z forget the Persians? Where sometimes you like, are you Indian? Like, are you like Indian, or like are you indigenous American Indian? And be like, no, I'm Persian. Oh, wait, oh, oops. Cheryl Bentley, that's hysterical. And that might actually be a more accurate descriptor. I ain't gonna say it out loud. I'm just saying. For all of you that have watched adult content and know some of what goes on behind the scenes, right? How that boner becomes a boner. I'm just saying, right? That's really funny. It's really funny, Trail, and pretty accurate to a certain extent, right? So you have this racial hierarchy, and then these people in this racial hierarchy cop and please, right? And we didn't even mention the like different types of black folks, the black immigrants plus the black ADOS FBA that's kind of on some tap dancing thing, and everybody trying to climb up that ladder. And how is it working exactly? Right? How is that working? The same people that are cop and please for these people wouldn't urinate on you if you were on fire, right? They wouldn't urinate on you if you were on fire. And yet we cop and please for them. And I say we as a human race. I know individuals over here aren't. And no placeholder says, and thank you for the super chat. World War III is coming in the next 5 years. Just a feeling. I think a lot of people agree with you on that. I think a lot of people agree with you on that. I don't. I don't know how much I believe or disbelieve that. Right. The tension is high right now, though, internationally. It is high. Right. So I'm not gonna disagree. I'm not gonna disagree with you on that one. No placeholder. It's serious right now. And yet, in the black community, of course, we're on day 1 zillion of black man versus black woman effery. That's what we're concerned of over here. Meanwhile, China, America, and Russia and Western Europe have a four-way aim nuclear standoff going on right now. Right? And three of those are pretty much white-led, white-dominated spaces, and only one of those are not white. And yet, Desiree told us, it's dangerous to be white right now. Yeah, that's it. How about it's dangerous to be a non-white person who 3 of the 4, and you could argue I mean, Israel is well, but Pakistan got nukes too, and India. Yeah. Anyway, three of the four areas I just mentioned are white, and these three or four could lead us into a nuclear holocaust. But yet, it's dangerous to be white. No, it's dangerous to be on a planet led by these people who are white. It's dangerous to be a non-white person led, being on a planet as a non-white person, and yet the white people got nukes and are aiming it at each other. But the fallout hits everyone, right? Somebody know about Afro pessimism? From Africa I came says this is pure Afro pessimism 101. It is, right? And Kevin C says the Rad Latino has a vendetta against Nasheed. I know he does. I know. And he says I've been on panels trying to inform him and his people, but they always dismiss black issues, reality, etc. But they come from countries that do that, right? They come from countries that have a rigid racial hierarchy. Then they come to America with the rigid racial hierarchy, and they think just because they don't overtly say it, that they don't think the same way. I have my own issues with Tariq Nasheed, but this call it fake pro black thing and like going at FBA like this and then saying stuff like, it's dangerous to be white right now. Like what? And we overuse the term white supremacy. Meanwhile, if I draw the line for you of why you're in America and show you the suitcase from the white hand to whatever dictatorial leader that's from your home country, then you'll get it. And maybe even then you won't get it. Right? When I show you the US banks that are colluding with drug cartels in Latin America, then you'll get it. Oh, wait, you still won't get it. The narco states that are being funded by white dollars, primarily by white dollars, then you'll get it. What? Wait, you still won't get it. Big Kev said, I'm sorry, I had to skip over a couple of super chats. And Big Kev said, to quote Rush Hour, push the button. To also quote Rush Hour, what did Chris Tucker tell Jackie Chan about following the money? Where is it going to lead? What did Chris Tucker tell Jackie Chan? That's very interesting. What did the black man tell the Asian man about following the money? Where does the money lead? Where does it always lead? Right? And thank you for the super chat, Big Kev. That was a great comment. Right? Press the right. I don't know if I could ever get tired of Rush Hours. It's just the Rush Hour series has been fire since the beginning. There's not a bad one. There's ones that are less entertaining, but there's not a bad Rush Hour. Right? But once again, it's fascinating to listen to non-black folks talk about this stuff. And I agree with Kev. Yeah, of course they dismiss when you start talking. Oh, we're all oppressed. And what Desiree was saying, we're all a little racist. What? This is when it gets fascinating. When we start doing we're all a little racist talk. And what that type of talk is there to dismiss white supremacist, white power. That's like pretty much saying, we're all a little biased. Yeah, but whose biases hurt other people? Whose biases have power behind it and laws behind it? Right? Once again, perfect example. Asians going at affirmative action don't got nothing to say about legacy admissions. That means you know where your bread is buttered and you know who not to go after. Plus, let's be honest, you want your daughters to end up dating and possibly marrying the white dude who benefited from legacy admissions. God damn, you said that, Mr. Z. I said it. You want your Latino daughters, your Latina daughters to benefit from that. Your South and East Asian daughters to benefit from that. And yes, even there's a couple of black people that wish their daughters would benefit from that too. From ending up with the dude that came in through legacy admissions. That means there's money over there, right? So yeah, they're gonna dismiss when black people talk. First of all, you're supposed to dismiss the people on the bottom right. They're the permanent underclass. You're not supposed to say they're the permanent underclass, but you know what it is. And you're supposed to tell them, no. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. This has nothing to do with race or ethnicity or lineage. Right? Now, Desiree does say a couple of things about, you know, maybe black people should get their own space, their own few states. She did speak to that. Until we could get white people to stop hating black people. Once again, Desiree, it's not about hate, it's about power. Right? And Barry Little says, entitlement Olympics, isn't it? Isn't it? And that's what all of these like buffer class non-black people, that's what they really on. When you think about all the things that people aspire for or to or think is proper, and it's all white. Oh God, I'm sounding like a 1960s civil rights leader. Right? It really is. When we say speak proper, right? I'm sorry, they don't say speak proper. They say talk proper, which I don't even know if that's grammatically correct, but whatever. When we think about what it means to show some type of wealth, or what we think of when we think of what it means to be gaudy, right? You have the money, but you don't know how to make the money look appropriate. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way you walk, the things that you're interested in. Who decided? Some white Brit, some white French person, some white German, some white American, some white Belgian, some white Spaniard, some white Portuguese. Right? When you think about the brands that symbolize wealth, whether it's automobiles or any type of clothing or any type of shoes or purses, all the brands that symbolize wealth, the way you comport yourself, it's white. We're dealing with that right now in the education system. The ideal student is a white girl. So how do all the women that want to show that, all the girls and the women that want to show that they're about their education, they take education seriously, how do they speak? Who are they imitating? Look at the LGBTQ men. Who are they imitating? Now, when they want to show they air quotes ratchet, they'll imitate a black girl, but their default, who are they imitating? You see it in the women, and you see it in the LGBTQ men, particularly the gay men, black men, Latino men, white men, Asian men. They're all acting like a white girl, like a white woman. That's not by accident. That's the softer colonizing hand. That's white supremacy, Desiree. That's not the overt strong arm of white men. That's his wife's softer hand. That's missionary talk. My husband's all off the west coast of Africa with the gunboats, with the cannons, and he sent me in 2, 3, 4 years earlier with the softer hand of Christ with the Bible. Or I'm coming in 2, 3, 4, 5 years later to subdue, and it's okay. I know he whooped your ass, but it's okay. Here's the Bible. Give me the diamonds. Here's the Bible. Give me the gold. You don't need that gold. Yeah, it's entitlement. It's entitlement. Entitlement Olympics, definitely. Right. From Africa, I came. Said this is pure Afro. It really. It is. I am engaging in that. Yes, it is. It is. It is. It is. Right. I might have to do a whole thing on Afro pessimism, but I'm kind of out of my depth with that. I would have to like find one of the scholars. And we who's interviewed? Was it Dr. Jared Bald or who was it? There's been some conversation about Afro pessimism and like it being well pessimistic and defeatist, right? And once again, Big Kev with the, to quote Rush Hour, push the button, right? And Detroit got it right. Follow rich white man. Exactly, exactly, right. And so these are just things that I think as Black people we need to consider when it comes to non-Black people of color, right? POCs, as they say, people of color, um, and then particularly ADOS FBA have to consider about just everyone that's not ADOS FBA, right? Because it's not like these people don't have the white supremacist boot up their rear end too. It's just not as far up their rear end. They can wiggle a little bit, right? They can wiggle a little bit. They can, they have more optimism and hope of climbing that ladder. For them, they see it as less overt, and they understand the racial hierarchy, even if they don't know how to necessarily articulate it. And for many people of color, it's like, as long as I'm not treated like those Negroes over there, and Negroes is not the word they're using. Right? Negroes is not the word they're using. But on that note, you guys, I don't want to stay too long. We're about to hit an hour in a little bit, so um, just wanted to bring this to you guys. I'm down for having a conversation with Radical Latino. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest pushbacks I had was from like some weirdo dude, Afro Latino, on Radical Latinos channel, maybe a year ago at this point, right? I've been on Radical Latino a couple times, right? So, it's these conversations are fascinating to listen to people of color and non-AUS FBA people talk about white supremacy, talk about money, talk about power, talk about hatred, right? Talk about Black people, you know. So, on that note, everybody, I will pause right there. Love, peace, and chicken grease. No, I have not forgotten about my 2K celebration. And no, I haven't forgotten about the fact that I said, I got to rant on affirmative action. I still got to rant on affirmative action. So we'll pause right here. I'm going to tag Radical Latino in this, and maybe I get a response or whatever. Radical Latino, if you hear this, my email address is in my description box. It always is. Um, yeah. And Kev C, if you ever get on Radical Latino, he say anything, let me know. Oh wait, we got another one. And Big Kev says, Big Kev made sure to get this out before I left. And Big Kev says there are no air quotes gender war until Black men debunked the misandric propaganda by Black women, especially Black feminists. Yeah, that's true. That's actually a really good comment. It was no gender war while they were punching down at Black men, but the second we started rebutting what they said, there's a gender war. You're right. Good point. Great point. Great point. Right. And Toya, what's going on, Toya? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there we go. Right, what's going on? And so on that note, Mr. Z got to run and go be a boyfriend, you know. And y'all have a great rest of your day. Go check out other. Wait, how's Mr. Z doing his exit right now? I'm messing up. I'll pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content, right? And y'all have a great rest of y'all day. For the love of God, check out other non-Manosphere content. Um, and it seems like, you know, Radical Latino and Desiree and the rest of the panel, they don't, you know, just consume. Obviously, they don't consume just Black Manosphere content. Obviously, that goes without saying. But yeah, y'all go check out other non-Manosphere content also, and so you can have just a wide breadth of knowledge and information. So that, you know, that's how Mr. Z is able to just pluck out these just random things. Y'all notice Mr. Z be using random examples. That's why. That's how I'm able to do it. So yeah, and read an article once in a while, right? So on that note, y'all have a great rest of y'all day. And Mr. Z out. All right, everyone.